And welcome to Kirkistown for this Future Classics and Fiesta race, where the grid is headed by Tim Duggan and Adrian Dunn, with Ken and Ger Byrne on row 2, Anthony Kelly and Daniel Byrne on row 3, with Aidan Byrne and David Hammond on the 4th row. Trevor Kinsella and Paul Flanagan are next, ahead of Gary Duggan and Gilbert Clancy, from Stephen Martin, Jimmy Kilbride, MJ Farrell and David Owens. Then we have the Fiestas headed by Oren O'Neill, second in the championship, ahead of Ricky Hull. Then it's Malcolm McEwen and Conor Mulholland, Craig Brown and Elliot Hayes, with Stephen Walker at the back. So 3 classes of cars: the Super Future Classics, the regular Future Classics, and the Ford Fiestas that you can see there at the back of the field. We'll try and keep you up to date with what's going on across all 3 classes as the race gets underway, and they rush down towards the first corner, and look at that, close quarters racing immediately in the midfield as they head down towards Debtors Dip for the first time. And it's going to be the Citroen Saxo that leads them out of turn 1 for the first time. That's Adrian Dunn. Second place for the Seat Ibiza of Tim Duggan, as the rest of them file their way through. There go the Fiestas in towards the right-hander at Colonial. Great to see the original, well, not the original shape Fiesta, but the older shape Fiesta still in really good numbers here in the Kirkistown Fiesta Championship. But it will be at the front of the field, Citroen Saxo. Well, it's all changed again now because we've got the Honda Civic into second place. That's Anthony Kelly. Those cars are all at the front of the field, all running within the Super Future Classics grid. Future Classics next in line by and large, and then the Fiestas towards the tail end of the field. Out onto the back straight they go, then the Saxo leads the way. Here comes the Toyota Celica. That's Aidan Byrne, one of 4 Byrnes in that class, and the Celica, looking to the outside there, was running in 3rd position and then runs off onto the grass. Oh dear, that wasn't quite the way to get through the hairpin, and as a result Aidan Byrne is going to lose that 3rd position. I think it's all getting very, very close behind indeed. We've got another one of the Toyotas there trying to make its way through. It is getting very physical indeed in the midfield, but at the front of the field, the top 2 making a bit of a break now, the Saxo and the Civic. And then everyone else through behind. Look at them coming through. I'm going to try and pick out some of the other cars within the classes further down the order as the race goes on. Making our way through Colonial though, and that is one of the Fiat Puntos in front of us. There are a couple of Puntos, and there's also a Punto Abarth that's driven by Trevor Kinsella in the Super Future Classics division. So lots of Fiat Puntos in the race. In fact, 2 Fiat Puntos together there, the yellow and the pink example there is the 3rd of them, which is the number 16 example. That is Stephen Martin, the 1400cc Fiat Punto. There are a couple of 1400s, a couple of 1800s out there as well, as the leaders make their way down the hairpin. And here at the inside comes the Toyota again, trying to get through past the Seat Ibiza of Tim Duggan. Can't quite do it. There goes one of the Puntos. That's the 48 car diving up the inside. That's Trevor Kinsella, and he elbows one of the BMWs out onto the grass, and then immediately comes under pressure from the next car in line behind. That's Aidan Byrne. So Aidan Byrne, I'm getting my Toyota Celicas mixed up. Sorry, Celicas mixed up. That was Aidan Byrne diving through there, taking full advantage to gain 2 places in a row. Oh, try some grass, why not? That was a nice move. And immediately Trevor Kinsella loses the position that he just worked so hard to gain. Down through Colonial they go, running a bit wide there, and that's going to hold up the whole group of cars behind as they rush down towards the right-hander at Fisherman's. But good to see such a big grid out there. Another nice battle here, 33, 106 and 20. There's a bit of contact there, and the 106 Peugeot always gets a bit sideways. That's Jimmy Kilbride in the Peugeot 106. The 33 Fiat in front is Paul Flanagan. And the number 20 was Gary Duggan, who nearly got into the back of the Peugeot then. Gary Duggan, the white and yellow Fiat, which is hopping and bouncing its way through the chicane and back along the back straight, where this fight for 3rd place is still raging on. And the Seat Ibiza of Tim Duggan just about hanging on, but again back round the outside goes the Toyota. And this is, well, wherever you look there's a battle, isn't there? Fantastic racing. This one's still raging on, with the 33 car of Paul Flanagan just about still ahead of Jimmy Kilbride and Gary Duggan. Jimmy Kilbride in a Fiat Punto sandwich. All of these cars running within the Future Classics element of the race. And as they rush back down towards turn 1, they are starting now just slightly to lose touch with the leading Super Future Classic cars. And up the inside line, that's a move being attempted there by the 106 car of Jimmy Kilbride. Does it work? Yes, it does. And we've had a real change around there. Oh, look at that on 2 wheels for Gary Duggan. And Paul Flanagan, who was leading that group only a few corners ago, was briefly down to 3rd in the queue, and now back into 2nd again. But very nearly lost Gary Duggan there with that bit of 2-wheeled acrobatics going through Colonial. Got a bit too much of the curb there. Lost a bit of ground through the chicane. There you go. Back along the back straight towards the hairpin at the end of another lap. Here we check in with the Fiestas though. Number 76 there is the first in the line. That's Malcolm McEwen, not leading the class though. Behind him is Oren O'Neill. Now Oren O'Neill, 2nd place in the championship coming into this race. He is 24 points behind Mark Stewart. But Mark Stewart is not here this weekend, and so if he can get himself a couple of class victories, he could move through into the championship lead potentially. Down into the braking zone they go. These are the top 4 in the Fiesta class. This is the typically close quarters Fiesta racing we've grown accustomed to seeing from this class of cars. And McEwen there defending the inside line from Oren O'Neill, who looks to the outside in the purple machine, trying to make the move work down the pit straight. In behind them is Conor Mulholland in the black and white number 18 car. These are, though, as I say, the top 4 in the Ford Fiesta category. The Kirkistown Fiesta Z-Tech Championship, all the cars identical Ford Fiesta Z-Techs, and that's why the racing is so close. Oren O'Neill is still fighting around this outside line, trying to get past McEwen, and he's going to go really late on the brakes there in towards Colonial, and he might just get through. No, because McEwen's not going to have the inside line for Fisherman's as well. That could just allow Conor Mulholland to get involved too. To the right-hander. Look at this is super close together, but they're just starting to cost themselves a bit of time now to the race leader. All these cars through the 1.2 litre Ford Fiesta Z-Tech engine, and a bit wide there for McEwen. That's going to compromise his exit speed onto the straight, and so Oren O'Neill could possibly get alongside, but he's always likely to have to go the long way around down at the hairpin, and that of course leaves him vulnerable to attack from the cars behind. He's going to have a go at it though. McEwen defends the inside line. To the outside goes O'Neill, and also helpfully for him, to the outside goes Conor Mulholland. So that didn't mean that he was under any pressure coming into the corner, and he gets a really nice cutback as a result. That's going to be the outside line now, down towards turn number 1. Right, we've got our 2 Toyotas together, 8 and 82. Number 8 is Ken Byrne, number 82 is Aidan Byrne, and it's Aidan Byrne in the Margaret livery car. Bringing back evocative memories of a classic racing livery. In fact, both of those cars, the second of the cars, of course, running in the famous Toyota Works Castrol livery, and they've just swapped positions out at the far end of the circuit. There is the 3rd place battle that still rages on, and it's still the Seat Ibiza of Tim Duggan who has that 3rd place, but in behind him is the Toyota Corolla of Daniel Byrne, and behind him Trevor Kinsella, I believe that was, in his Fiat Punto Abarth. The Fiesta's back through the John Crossley chicane, and we have now had this change for 2nd place, so Oren O'Neill has gone ahead of Malcolm McEwen, and now is trying to chase after the race leader, Ricky Hull. Well, that's going to be easier said than done. They head down towards the braking zone again, and yep, you can see they're 3 abreast as Mulholland tries to join in the fun as well. Goes to the outside of McEwen, gets 2 wheels on the grass. Well to save that, and then continue on their way down the pit straight. Back a bit further up the road, this battle's still going on between Paul Flanagan and Jimmy Kilbride, and these 2 chasing after the 48 Fiat Punto of Trevor Kinsella. So this is, I believe, the lead battle in the Future Classics element of the race. And there are 4 cars together, because that's MJ Farrell now in his Toyota Levin that has closed in on the group in front. So we've got the Peugeot 106, 2 Fiat Puntos, one of which has the 1.4 engine. That's the car we're riding on board with now, and the other one, Gary Duggan, has the 1.8 engine. More powerful, and then you've got the Toyota of MJ Farrell in there as well as we drop down onto the brakes into the hairpin. They're also catching the Super Future Classic car, number 48 of Trevor Kinsella. So if they start catching him, that could add extra spice to the mix in what is already a pretty entertaining battle for the class victory here. This is a pretty entertaining battle for 3rd place overall, and still Tim Duggan is fending off all comers, but around the outside now, well, he's got cars looking to the left, cars looking to the right, and the number 90 car there of Daniel Byrne, the Toyota Corolla, trying his best to find a way through into the podium positions. Then you've got the 82 of Aidan Byrne. Then you've got the 57 of Gerburn in the 2.5 litre BMW 323i. So again, great variety at play here. Seat ahead of Toyota, but a different kind of Toyota, and BMW all scrapping over the podium place. And of course, they all have different strengths and weaknesses. Some of them are quicker in a straight line, some of them handle better, some of them good under the brakes, some of them are rear-wheel drive, so they get off the tight corners better, some of them are front-wheel drive, so they're a bit more stable through the high-speed stuff, and it all adds up to some great racing. And you can see it unfolding in front of us now as Aidan Byrne tries to get the cut back there on Daniel Byrne. Gerburn running wide out of the hairpin as he tries to keep in touch with them side by side down towards turn 1 there, and I think Aidan Byrne's gone through. Yes, he has. So Aidan Byrne picks up 4th position now at the expense of Daniel Byrne. All of the Byrnes getting themselves together here. Still, they can't find a way past Tim Duggan in the Seat Ibiza. Started up on the front row of the grid, of course, but qualifying pace and race pace, two very different things, as is being demonstrated here. He may have qualified well, but just struggling a bit against some of the slightly more powerful cars maybe in the race situation. But look at this racing we're enjoying. That's something out of a video game, isn't it, with all of this great variety of essentially production cars that have been modded to be race safe, but not much quicker than the traditional road versions. Leaders back across the start-finish line in the Fiestas though, and it's still that healthy lead being held by Ricky Hull. Here's this other battle in the Future Classics going on. No change in the order by the looks of it in the top 4, but it is still going to be the Peugeot. It's the Peugeot 106 of Jimmy Kilbride leading the way. We're on board there with Paul Flanagan in 2nd place in the slipstream down the back straight. 1.6 litre engine in the Peugeot, 1.4 litre engine in the Fiat Punto, but the Punto's on the inside and there's contact between the two of them. Oh dear, that was all a bit unnecessary, but I think the Fiat's going to elbow its way through, which it does, but then runs a bit wide on the exit, and watch out for the slightly more powerful Peugeot to try and get back alongside down the pit straight. I remind you, this is for the class lead as we now go into the second half of the race, and the Peugeot on the outside line gets its nose in front, and Kilbride will not be is not keen to give in here, and Kilbride it is who comes out of the corner back in the class lead. Great racing. Into Colonial he goes again, and in a way he will feel that he deserves to hold on to the race lead, having been roughed up by Paul Flanagan down at the hairpin. Paul now is turning his attention from attack to defence to try and keep the cars behind him, and that is something that he's managed to do so far. It is the other Punto, of course, of Gary Duggan, who is his most immediate threat, but Gary not quite on his tail, so Paul Flanagan will try and regroup now. I think Gary Duggan's main priority in this race is just keeping the thing on terra firma, because every time it goes anywhere near a curb, it seems to launch itself skywards onto at most 2 wheels, sometimes 1 wheel, I think. But he's holding off the Toyota of MJ Farrell pretty effectively, despite all of the acrobatics. That will be the 3rd place within the class as they turn their way back through onto another lap. Right, bit of traffic now for the overall podium battle to contend with. Still Tim Duggan ahead of Aidan Byrne, ahead of Daniel Byrne, ahead of Gerburn, as they turn their way back down in towards Fisherman's again, and a lock up there for the Toyota. BMW will try and get the squirt on the exit of the corner. It's rear-wheel drive, of course, gets good traction out of that tight turn. There's nowhere to go. Overlapping in front as they go to the chicane, but you don't really want to be running too close to each other through here, certainly not side by side. There isn't really room to run side by side through the John Crossley chicane, and they get onto the straight, and really they're all remarkably evenly matched. I mean, look at that, no one's really stealing a huge march on anybody else, so a really good close racing, but no one car seems to have a distinct advantage. Toyota a little bit later on the brakes than the cars around it there. That's the Toyota Corolla of Daniel Byrne. Oh, Gerburn again is wide in the background, which compromises his speed out onto the pit straight. So down towards turn 1 they go again, and side by side in towards Colonial. Toyota on Seat, and the Toyota of Aidan Byrne going to try and go right round the outside here. Can he get the inside line for the left-hand kink? The answer is no, and so the Seat Ibiza stays in front. So the Seat Ibiza, confusingly, with BMW Specialist sticker down the side of it, but there we go. And the Seat Ibiza not necessarily the most obvious choice of car to turn into a racing car, because the Seat Ibiza, this particular version, this particular shape of the Seat Ibiza, did actually enjoy a fairly successful time on the rallying scene, in front-wheel drive Super 1600 rallying, certainly, in the R2 kit car era of the early noughties. So it does have some motorsport pedigree, but this particular version, very much a production car, that has been modded to go racing, but not that many performance enhancements really. So the Toyotas behind really starting to give him a bit of a workover now. Tim Duggan desperately tried to hang on to this third place as they streak back across the start-finish line. Here is the Fiesta battle, and Oren O'Neill now starting to chase after Ricky Hull, the race leader, but whether Oren will have the time to get there, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. On board with Gare Byrne as he turns into Colonial. Wayward on the way in, and he's just starting to lose touch now with the cars in front. Back through Fisherman's again, not making friends with the Apex there. Car parked at the side of the road, unfortunately, and that is the Fiat Uno, I believe, of David Hammond, car number 23. We've also lost earlier on in this race Ken Byrne in his Toyota Sleeker. This, though, is our race leader, who we haven't really seen all that much of. This is the Citroen Saxo leading the way. Adrian Dunn, and he goes on to his final lap of the race. And the Citroen Saxo, number 97, that's driven imperiously so far in the race. Look at the lead that it's got over everybody else. There is not our second place car, that's a back marker. So second place even further back. There is Adrian Dunn as he turns the number 97 Citroen Saxo through Fisherman's for the final time, and it looks as though he's on his way to a race victory here at Kirkistown into the John Crossley chicane, and using lots of curbs still even on this final lap. He makes his way now down the back straight, behind the pits and paddock, on his way down towards the checkered flag. Look at the margin that he's got over everybody else trying to be second and third in the background. But the race leading car turns into the final corner, turns out of the final corner, and Adrian Dunn is about to see the checkered flag and win the first race of the weekend for the Super Future Classics. A dominant drive that was from Adrian Dunn. Then we wait and we wait and we wait to see what's going to happen further back. We've got a back marker first, and then we will have our second place car. That's Anthony Kelly in the Honda Civic. He comes through to take second. And third place is going to go the way of the Seat Ibiza of Tim Duggan. And it was side by side for fourth place. Too close to call at the line. It was just about, I think, the Celica ahead of the Corolla. Aidan ahead of Daniel Byrne. So it is a race victory in the Super Classics in the end for Anthony Kelly after Adrian Dunn was penalised. So it's Anthony Kelly from Tim Duggan, from Aidan Byrne, then Daniel Byrne, Ger Byrne, Trevor Kinsella and Adrian Dunn rounding out the 7 finishers. In Future Classics, Paul Flanagan took the race victory in the Fiat Punto ahead of Gary Duggan and MJ Farrell. And then in the Fiestas, Ricky Hull the winner, Oren O'Neill in second and Conor Mulholland in third.
Ricky, what a frantic race to come out with a win. You've got to be happy.
Yeah, well pleased. Just first and foremost, I would like to thank Creative Motorsport for all their help, and also Region Florin and Newton Ards there. But yeah, thrilled with that result. It was a small grid, but it was different because we were mixing with faster cars, which we usually don't do. So at times it was hard to watch for them and look after your own race. So well pleased.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, even though it was a slightly smaller grid than usual, it was still action all the way.
Yeah, there usually is because the times are so close. I started second on the grid. Oren O'Neill started in pole. She's going really, really well. She won the last day out, and she's always thereabouts, and she's a very hard racer. But what helped me there was that her and Malcolm were dicing, so I could sort of drive away, luckily.
Oh, for now, go and enjoy it. Well done.
Thank you.
Oren, I spoke to you before the race. You're looking for the win to put you in the top of the championship.
Yeah.
But after that scrap, second place isn't too bad.
Yeah, it was okay. It was a good race. Good battle for third with Malcolm and then Connor as well. But Ricky kind of ran away with it.
It did, and considering that the field is light this weekend, it's scrapping all the way. It's fantastic to watch.
It is really good. We're a bit low on numbers, but it's good to have the Future Classics out with us as well.
Yeah, what's it like having the fast boys around you? You've got to keep your wits about you, haven't you?
Yeah, I know. Always looking on your mirrors.
All right, well, for now, go and enjoy it. Well done.
Thank you.
Connor, 4th to 3rd, fantastic race. Difficult with the fast boys out on track as well. You got to keep your wits about you.
Yeah, firstly I'd like to thank all my sponsors who got me here today. Reliance Water Controls and Irwin M&E. Yeah, it's very frantic out there, so it was, especially with the Future Classics coming up behind us.
Yeah, but scrapping all the way, there wasn't a dull moment in that race. What was your best moment?
I was just bidding my time really behind Oren and the other fella, and pretty much bidding my time, and once he made a wee mistake going into Fisherman's, I could get by him, and last 2 laps then I just tried my best to keep in front of him.
You got one more race coming up. What can you do there?
Not too sure. I've got ballast now in, so we'll see how the car behaves with the ballast, and just hope for another podium really.
Good stuff. Well, for now, go and enjoy it. Well done.
Thank you very much.